This is news from other countries now. Dave, this will hit close to home for you. An Australian weatherman, this is on the Today Show Australia. He was going out to do a report at a farm somewhere in Australia. His name is Tim Fermenton. And they go to him, and apparently he's from the city and doesn't get out to the farms very much.
Okay.
And they had live cattle around him, and it was the first time he had smelled the smells of live cattle. So when he was out there and they were milking the cows and so forth, he was overcome by the smell.
G'day, Timmy. Beautiful morning there.
Oh, a bit smelly.
Yes, the air is very fresh here this morning, Carl. I can confirm. My goodness me. Whew, we've got some cattle that we're hand feeding. Sorry. I got a case of the gags happening here. But I'm sorry. I'm such a city slicker because the smell of some of the animals, they're beautiful, but the smell, I mean, this one just keeps turning around on me and I'm not sure how I feel about I'm really sorry, everybody.
Toughen up, Tim. Oh, my goodness.
They put the man in a place he's gagging. He's gagging at the smell of it.
All right.
I can speak to this. One time, years ago, I was on a different radio show, and I was a stunt boy, okay? And my partner and I, you know Eagle Boy.
Do I?
Remember Eagle Boy?
It's probably still in my phone.
This is 30 years ago. I was in my early 20s, and the host of the show would send us out on different, to do stuff on the streets. We were wild, man. And we would do all sorts of crazy things. Well, once he sent us to a farm, and we were going to milk a cow. The question was, could we or could we not milk the cow? So we were standing there with the farmer. I wish I could say the word that he used, but we're just standing there calmly talking to him. I was explaining to the farmer, okay, we're going to go live here in 2 minutes or whatever. And he goes, first you're going to get crapped on. But he used the S word. He goes, you're going to get crapped on. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you're about to get crapped on. I said, what are you talking about? And then, bam. I mean, and it was the worst smell. But unlike the Australian weatherman, I've never broke character. I never
stayed with it.
I stayed with it.
See, I think I'd be like the Australian weatherman. I'd be gagging and be done.
You hear those gags? Listen to those gags again.
G'day, Timmy. Beautiful morning there.
Oh, a bit smelly.
Yes, the air is very fresh here this morning, Carl. I can confirm. My goodness me. Whew, we've got some cattle that we're hand feeding.
That one right there. We're hand feeding. They're hand feeding the cattle.
Well, I'm not close to livestock, but what about when you roll down your window and you're going past the pasture and you're like, and I always thought that was kind of a manure smell. Is it the hay that I smell and not the manure? I mean, I grew up.
I think it is the manure.
I wasn't around livestock.
I think that is manure, but I bet is he right there on
fresh.
It's fresh. I mean, you hear how it's fresh.
So the gags happening here, but I'm sorry. I'm such a city slicker because the smell of some of the animals, they're beautiful, but the smell, I mean, this one just keeps turning around on me and I'm not sure how I feel about
He barely got. Oh my God! He couldn't even get to the forecast. The poor people in Melbourne and Cairns, they had no idea. They don't even know what the weather was going to be.
Your methane.
He was supposed. I guess yes, and it was exploding all over. I read this similar story. A woman in England is going viral. News from other countries now. She caught her boyfriend cheating, and she got back at him by hiding shrimp up in the area of his curtains where he would never go, like up in the curtain rod. She stuffed them up there, and he, for weeks, could not figure out what the smell was.
I believe it.
Yeah,
what a brilliant move on her part, because that is nowhere that anyone would ever look.
Exactly. And that is pretty smart. And because she literally put the shrimp inside the little rod up there. And so he would never find it. But for months, he was trying to find what it was. And she hid he had cheated on her, and she knew it, and she got it. And so this went out viral, and people commented on what they had done. Somebody said she removed the back panel from their ex's TV and put crab meat in there, in the television.
Oh.
Inside the TV.
Oh, that's going to heat up. Oh.
I know, and it's crab meat.
Yeah, it smells like it's burning.
Now, I've heard of this. A woman brushed a guy's toilet with his toothbrush and then put it back. You hear of that from time to time.
Heard of that, but only you know that.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get to see the effects of it.
But the smells now, that's pretty bad. Then one more. Somebody took the liquid that comes in jars of minced garlic and strained out the liquid and put it in the guy's shoes, poured it in each one of his shoes.
So that when he goes and
I guess
just wears his shoes.
Does that stink? Is that what that would do?
I mean, it smells like garlic. I don't know how it goes with a mixed
does it get
stinky
nasty?
foot smell.
Well, and then somebody else said, these are all comments on what you can do to get back at your cheating ex or your ex. They filled a spray bottle with milk and sprayed it all over the person's carpet so it would dry and then sour.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know it, and you get a sour smell the rest of the time. That's disgusting.
That's wrong.
Bad milk is disgusing. But do they deserve it if they've cheated on their partner?
I don't know. I guess if it makes you feel better, but it's a little petty.
Has anyone ever done anything like that to you, Dave and X? Has anybody ever tried to get back at you?
I'm sorry, those files are all
Those
classified.
days are
now.
over. That's right.
Those files are classified.
That's a yes.
Pete, you're talking about hiding smelly foods. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was a ocean lifeguard in Myrtle Beach for about 10 years, and I got the ultimate one. A blowfish washed up on the beach, and we hid it behind the hubcap cover of my buddy's Honda Accord, and it sat there for months. And he could not figure out where the stink was in his car. He went to the car wash 500 times. It was classic.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Dang.
Now, did you ever just tell him? Did you come clean with the joke?
Yeah, like 2 months later.
That's just friends being friends. You know, that's just what you do.
The smell would be gone by then. I would hope it would just kind of
I don't know.
fizzle away.
A blowfish. After a while, I guess it goes away. That's a great story. But the shrimp, does it eventually just go? I mean, if you don't find it, does it eventually stop?
I mean, it decays.
It dries up.
Decaying, and then it dries up, and I think it's just, but the leavings are still there.
Yeah. I remember a call we got on this show many years ago, and a guy called in about his son. His son had hidden an egg, like an Easter egg, up in his closet and forgotten about it. And so
hard-boiled egg?
The hard-boiled egg over time rotted. Oh, an awful, awful smell.
Horrible.
The worst thing I ever smelled was in college. We put buttermilk in the fridge because we were going to be cooking every single week. My roommate and I was like, all right, once a week we're going to cook our meal so we don't spend so much money. And I was first, and I made chicken casserole.
Nice.
And my mother's recipe called for buttermilk.
Okay.
So we put it in there. Now, we stopped cooking. We went out to McDonald's and Burger King all the time, like most
probably
college.
after the second week.
Taco Bell. Yeah, he cooked once, I cooked once. That was it. Well, the smell all year got worse and worse and worse. We never could figure it out. It was buttermilk inside the fridge that had gotten pushed behind something.
That's the first place to check is the fridge, man.
Disgusting.
For stink. That and the trash.
He found it on the last day of school when we were cleaning everything. I was like, oh, that's that smell. We lived with it all those years. Mark, you're talking about smelly animals. Go ahead.
This was in Michigan in wintertime, and my buddy had a snake that got out. He was in the car, and it got out of the bag he was transporting it in. It got into the engine block and ended up dying in the engine block. It was you had to drive around in wintertime in Michigan with the windows down. So bad he had to get rid of the car.
Oh, my God.
Because of a dead cooked
You
snake.
get a bad, dead, cooked snake in there. Anytime my daughter, thank you very much, Mark, that's awful. Anytime my daughter gets in my car, which is rare, she immediately puts her shirt up over her nose. My son does too. Like, oh,
That's when you're supposed to make it a lesson and say, see if you keep taking food to your room, it's what it's going to smell like.
exactly right. Exactly.
It
right.
will.
Of course, I did have that air fryer bad haddock here recently.
Yeah, you really got no room to talk on that one.
I was
Well, bad haddock to start with.
the haddock was out of date, and I cooked it. It was bad.
You thought you could air fry the
I know.
the
I did.
the expiration
I
out
thought
of
I
it.
could air fry the stink out of it. It just put it in worse.